Hello, travelers. There is a question that appears in Western thought, a question that seems important but may not be the right question at all. We ask ourselves who we are, as if identity were a permanent thing, a fixed point in the landscape of consciousness. I want to tell you about a night in the Colombian Amazon when that question slowly dissolved, like sugar in warm water. Not quickly, but gradually, peacefully. And what came to fill that empty space is what we will explore together tonight. The indigenous people I stayed with had a phrase. It meant something like, the night when the name goes away. They said it quietly, the way you might speak of sleep or dreams, because in their understanding of the world, it was something natural, something that happens. Western psychology does not have maps for this territory. Jung came close with his ideas about the dissolution of ego, but even Jung was working within certain assumptions about consciousness and the brain. Let me tell you what happened. It was the rainy season. The jungle makes soft sounds at night. Rain falling on leaves, the distant calls of animals settling down, the rhythm of insects creating a gentle background hum. I had been with these people for about 3 weeks. They were not casual about mushrooms. This was a culture that had been working with psilocybin-containing fungi for a very long time, thousands of years perhaps. They had a deep knowledge about these states that made our modern understanding seem quite simple. The elder, the one who held the knowledge, had calm eyes. When he looked at you, it felt like he was seeing something beyond the surface, something deeper. He had been observing me for days. And on this particular evening, as the rain began its soft tapping on the canopy and the day was ending, he said something to the young translator. The words came back to me. Tonight, if you are ready, we will show you the place where names go to rest. In the West, our relationship with psychedelics is limited. We think of them as recreation or perhaps therapy. But in these traditional contexts, it is something else. It is a way of understanding reality, a tool for seeing what is normally hidden. The mushrooms they had gathered, Psilocybe cubensis, they called them something that sounded like little saints of the rain. They had been dried carefully on banana leaves in the sun. The elder arranged them on the ground, several grams, more than I had taken before. He began to chant, not in Spanish, not in his everyday language, but in something older, something that seemed to move below the level of words and speak to a deeper part of the mind. The rhythm was steady, calming. It matched the beating of my heart and then seemed to guide it into a slow, peaceful pattern. He looked at me and said, through the translator, "When you go there, do not try to hold on to your name. Let it rest. It's heavy to carry." I nodded. I placed the mushrooms on my tongue and began to chew slowly. They tasted bitter, like old wood and earth. Each small bite seemed to carry a heaviness, all the boundaries I had built, all the definitions I had accepted. 20 minutes. That is how long it takes usually. I sat in the darkness. The elder had let the fire go out. I listened to the jungle breathing, the soft sounds of rain, the gentle rhythm of my own breath, the quiet music of insects and frogs creating the nighttime atmosphere of the Amazon. And then things began to change. People describe the beginning of psilocybin as visual changes, colors becoming different, patterns appearing. But that description is too simple. It misses something important. What I felt was a presence, Not something I could see, but a feeling of pressure, as if the air had become aware and was gently paying attention. The darkness began to show itself as not empty but full, a substance, a medium, something alive in a quiet way. The elder's voice came softly. Breathe, let it come. And it came slowly. The darkness began to organize itself into shapes, geometric forms, but these were not hallucinations. That word does not fit. These seemed more present than the ground, more real than my body felt. Shapes and forms, apparently alive, composed of living geometry. They moved slowly through this space like creatures in deep water, leaving trails of meaning behind them. They seemed to be inviting me, calling me gently into a deeper part of the experience. I tried to hold on to something familiar, my name, my identity, where I came from, what I did. These were my anchors back to normal reality. But the mushroom, which now seemed to have its own intelligence, its own gentle persistence, was not interested in letting me hold on. A voice, not heard with ears, not exactly in my mind, but somewhere in between, began asking questions. Slow questions. This name you have, what is a name really? I tried to answer, tried to explain. An identity, memories, a body, a history, a child of certain parents. These things defined me. But with each answer, the answer would fade. The mushroom would show me, without words, just by showing directly, how arbitrary each of these things was. A name is just a sound your parents chose. It attached to you like a label. But what does it have to do with what you actually are? Your country is just a story about invisible lines on maps. Maps are not the real territory. You are claiming to belong to an idea, to something imaginary. Your work, your role, these are just performances, costumes you wear. Under one costume is another costume, layer after layer, until you reach something else. That is when the fear came. Not sudden fear, but a slow, creeping realization. The self I had been protecting, building, defending my whole life was not solid. It was constructed, made up, created, not false exactly, but authored, written, built from pieces. And the one doing the building was just another character in the story. I could feel my name starting to slip away, not as a metaphor, actually slipping. I would reach for it. My name is, and it would slide away like water through fingers, like something that was never solid. There was panic, but slow panic. Because if you are not your name, not your past, not your role, not even your body, if all of these are just temporary collections of matter and meaning, then what remains? The mushroom seemed to say, in that wordless way. Yes, exactly. What are you when the labels fall away? Through all of this, through the slow dismantling of everything I thought I was, I heard laughter. The elder was laughing, not unkindly, but with a deep, knowing laughter, the kind of laugh that comes from watching something unfold exactly as expected. The translator spoke quietly. He says, welcome to the place beyond names. He says you held on for a while, but the mushroom always wins eventually. He says now the real part begins. This was just the beginning, I wanted to ask, but I no longer had the equipment for questions. The I that could ask had dissolved into everything else. What was left was pure experience. Imagine, if you can, consciousness without anything in it. Awareness with no one being aware. Knowing with no one who knows. The Buddhists call this rigpa, pure awareness. But I did not know this then. I only knew that I had become something vast and intimate at the same time. I was not a person having an experience. I was the experience dreaming it was a person. From this place, the mushroom began to show me things. Teaching is not quite the right word. Transmitting, perhaps. Revealing. First, it showed me how I was built. Not just this life, but the evolutionary history in my cells. I could feel directly, without interpretation, the long journey from sea to land, the development of eyes, the growth of the brain through millions of years. And I understood, being a separate self is a strategy. It emerged because it helped with survival. But helpful and true are different things. Then it showed me language. How words are not descriptions of what is real, but spells we cast to make chaos manageable, to make the overwhelming world graspable. Your name is the first spell, the one that creates the feeling of boundary, of separation, of you versus everything else. But look closely. Where do you end and the rest of reality begin? You breathe air that trees released. Your body is made of atoms, born in stars billions of years ago. Your thoughts are built from ideas inherited from thousands of generations before you. Even this experience is only possible because some ancestor long ago learned about these mushrooms and passed that knowledge forward through time. You are not a thing, you are a process, a verb that believes it is a noun, a wave that has forgotten it is ocean. Then I began to see them, faces, the ancestors, not necessarily my own family, though perhaps they were there, but human ancestors in general, thousands of faces stretching back through history, back before history, into the time when our early ancestors first began to think about themselves. And I realized each of them had to build an identity. Each had to learn a name, learn to say I, learn to see themselves as separate. This is what consciousness requires. But here, in this mushroom space, in this place between being and not being, they were all showing the same thing. The identity you carry is real enough, but it is not ultimate. It is like a suit you wear, necessary for certain environments. But you should not forget there is something wearing the suit. Though even that metaphor falls apart because there is no something separate from the suit. There is just awareness, temporarily taking this form we call a human being. I became aware, slowly, that I was in the presence of something large, not the mushroom exactly, or not only the mushroom, but something the mushroom was helping me access, making available. You could call it many things: the planetary mind, the source, the field, the collective unconscious. Names do not matter here because we are beyond names now. But whatever it was vast, ancient, and it had been waiting, not for me personally, but for any consciousness willing to venture this far. And it showed me something I still struggle to describe. It showed me that consciousness is not a human creation, not even an organic creation. Consciousness is built into the universe itself. Matter is consciousness slowed down. Energy is consciousness moving. And what we call normal waking consciousness is just one small frequency in an infinite spectrum. The mushroom is a tool, a biological tool, yes, but a tool. It is an antenna that lets organic consciousness tune into frequencies it cannot normally access. And at the highest frequencies, you meet the thing itself, the awareness that dreams everything into existence. Then came something like a message, though message implies words, and this was more like having information placed directly into your being. The message was simple. You are not separate. You have never been separate. The whole human experience of loneliness, of isolation, of being cut off. It is based on a mistake in perception. The boundaries you believe in between you and the world, between mind and body, between life and death. These are useful stories, necessary for getting through the material world. But they are not absolute. They are temporary, agreed upon illusions we accept to make survival possible. But survival and awakening are not the same. The mushroom, this simple fungus growing in fields around the world, has been offering this message for thousands of years, whispering to those who would listen. Come closer, look deeper, see through the surface. Not everyone can hear it. Not everyone wants to. Because hearing it means releasing the most precious thing you think you have, your separate self. But what you lose in separation, you gain in connection. What you give up in identity, you receive in unity. I do not know how long I remained in that state. Time had stopped meaning anything. Just another concept that only works from a certain perspective. But slowly, gradually, I began to feel something returning, a gathering, a focusing. The vast awareness was beginning to pour itself back into something more familiar. I could feel my body again, not as something I owned, but as something I was doing. A continuous activity, breath and heartbeat and nerves all firing. And then the name returned, changed, transformed. I could feel it settling back onto me, but now I knew what it was. A handle, a convenience, a way for other people to refer to this particular version of consciousness. The elder's face appeared. He was smiling, not with pride, but with recognition, like seeing someone return from a familiar place. "Welcome back," the translator said softly. "But you are not really back, are you? Part of you remains there, will always remain there." He was right. The experience had created an opening that would not close, a window that would stay open. The hours that followed, maybe days, I cannot be certain, were spent in silence. The elder would offer water or fruit occasionally. Mostly he just sat nearby, a calm presence helping me settle back into ordinary reality. Because that is what they do not tell you. Going out is extraordinary. Coming back is just as profound and much more difficult. You have to take something beyond words and bring it back into the world of words. Take something timeless and fit it back into time. And you are changed. You cannot unsee what you have seen, cannot unknow what you have known. The person who took those mushrooms and the person here now share a body, share memories, but they are not quite the same. The mushroom consumed my name, but it did not destroy me. It revealed me, or showed that there was nothing there to destroy. Just awareness, playing a game with itself across space and time. So what do you do with this? How do you live with an experience that changes everything you thought you knew about reality and yourself? The elder offered guidance. He said, through translation, the mushroom shows truth, but you still live in the world of names. The art is holding both, knowing you are not your name, but using it anyway, knowing you are not separate, but respecting boundaries anyway. This is the path. I consider that often, because there is a danger. The danger of thinking that because identity is constructed, it does not matter. That because separation is illusion, we can ignore ethics and responsibility. But that misses the point entirely. The mushroom does not excuse you from being human. It shows you what being human includes, both the small and the vast. The work is dancing between those perspectives, being fully present in this particular life while remembering you are also the whole dance. Before I left, the elder gave me a small leather pouch, dried mushrooms inside. Not for regular use, he was clear, but for those times when I would forget, when I would get lost again in believing the separation was real, when my name would start feeling too solid again. The mushroom is always there, he said, waiting, patient. It has waited for millions of years. It can wait for you. I think about that. The patience of these organisms. They have been here far longer than humans. They have watched species come and go, witnessed ecosystems rise and fall, and through it all, they have kept this ability, this remarkable capacity to temporarily dissolve the boundaries of consciousness, to show us what we are beneath the identity. Why would they do that? What benefit is there for them? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps it is simply a side effect of their chemistry. Or perhaps it is a gift, a tool left by the intelligence woven through everything, a reminder encoded in mushroom flesh that we are not alone, have never been alone, that loneliness is just another temporary illusion. That night in the Amazon was decades ago. I have had other journeys since, other meetings with mushroom consciousness, but none quite like that first complete dissolution. And I am grateful, even for the fear, especially for the fear, because fear is what we feel when the walls of our comfortable prison suddenly fall away. We think we want freedom, but when real freedom arrives, freedom from the prison of self, we realize how safe we felt in captivity. But once you have tasted that freedom, felt what it is like to exist without the weight of a name, without the burden of separation, you cannot fully return to sleep. You can pretend, you can play along, you can wear your name like clothing and move through the world. But underneath, there is always a whisper, a memory, a knowing. The mushroom consumed my name, and in doing so, it gave me something more valuable than any identity could provide, a glimpse of what I actually am, what we all are, not things, not objects, not even subjects, but awareness itself, consciousness, the eye through which the universe observes its own unfolding. So I leave you with a question, not rhetorical, the most important question. Who would you be if you forgot your name? What would remain when the story falls away? When everything you have told yourself about yourself is revealed as just that, a story? The mushroom knows. It has been waiting quietly in darkness, in forests, in fields, ready to show anyone willing to look. And the night when the name goes away, it is still happening. Right now, always, in the eternal present where all real transformation occurs. The question is simple. Are you ready for that night? Because the mushroom is ready for you. It has always been ready. Safe travels, friends.